Sometimes when I've had too much coffee late at night, I kill time taking those dumb Facebook quizzes. You know the ones. Which element are you? Which classic horror villain are you? What were you in a past life? The results are usually obvious from the answers you choose, but it's something to do. Tonight was one of those nights. It's late. I'm scrolling out of boredom. I smoked a couple bowls and drank too much Dr. Pepper, so sleep is not happening anytime soon. But I'm also too fried to do anything useful. I could clean the apartment, but who am I cleaning it for? I've been a hermit for 7 months, living alone, rarely having people over. I moved here from Dayton originally to go back to school, but 9 months ago, 2 semesters in, I lost interest and dropped out. I tried to hold things together with Sarah, but it turned out she needed someone with ambition. I guess that's just how it goes. My delivery driver job covers rent and the basics, maybe a little left over, but not enough to put anything away. My coworkers aren't bad people, but I keep my distance. Most of them are way younger than me and mostly want to get blackout drunk every weekend, which was never really my thing. I'm probably what you'd call a loner. I could put on a movie, but I lost the remote for the DVD player, and everything I own, I've already watched a dozen times. I have cable, but there's never anything on, and I can't stand commercials. The internet wins by default. Facebook is dead tonight, as expected. It's the hour when everyone's already gone to bed, and my feed has dried up. I scroll for 5 minutes, refresh, start over. Maybe I can find something on YouTube I haven't seen yet. Probably not. I refresh again. A friend took one of those quizzes. What kind of warrior are you? Apparently he's a Viking. I click through and answer all the questions, and it turns out I'm a pirate. Good to know. Couldn't have gone on without that information. I scroll through a few more quizzes, trying to kill another few minutes before I pass out. I click on one titled, "Which music genre fits your personality?" But instead of the quiz, a new window opens. Can you outsmart the all-knowing Ronway? Play 20 questions right now. I don't usually click on random pop-ups, but this one seemed harmless enough. I know computers well enough, one of the perks of being antisocial, and mine is pretty well protected. Also, I'm extremely bored, so I think, what the hell, and click yes. Ronway knows what you're thinking. Ronway knows everything. Is it currently nighttime where you are? That's a weird question for a 20 questions game. I always thought the point was to guess a word you were thinking of. For an all-knowing entity, Ronway has a strange grasp of the rules. Whatever. Yes, it's nighttime. I click yes. Of course, Ronway sees all. Are you alone right now? Like I'd be sitting here at 1 a.m. if I had company. I click yes. Naturally, Ronway knows everything. Are you wearing a gray t-shirt? I'm a little high, so I actually don't remember what I put on today. I look down. Gray t-shirt. Okay, that's a little weird. I click yes. Ronway sees this too. Ronway sees all. Are your eyes brown? Another hit, though brown is probably the most common eye color. I click yes. Nothing is hidden from Ronway. Ronway sees everything. Is your name Steven? That stops me. How does it know my name? I sit with that for a second, then figure it out. I clicked into this through Facebook. The app probably pulled from my public profile. That's actually kind of clever. Okay, Ronway. I click yes. Ronway knows you as Ronway knows all. Is your dog's name Lola? Did I ever post that? I don't think it's in my profile fields. Maybe I listed her as a pet at some point, but I genuinely don't remember doing that. I click yes. Of course that's her name. Ronway knows all. Is Lola at your mother's house? I definitely never posted that. When I moved here, I couldn't find a pet-friendly place, so Lola stayed with my mom. There's no way this app should know that. I'm a little stoned, but I'm not that far gone. I click yes, slowly. Naturally, Ronway knows all. Is the lamp in your living room turned off? Ha! Got you, Ronway. I look over at the lamp, which is absolutely on, and feel a wave of relief that's probably bigger than it should be. I laugh a little and click no. You cannot fool Ronway. Ronway is watching you. As I finish reading that sentence, the bulb in the living room lamp blows out. I go completely still. Do you have any more light bulbs? I think about it. Yeah, I have a box in the kitchen drawer. I click no with a smirk. Ronway knows all. I will verify this. Oh, I don't think so. I get up and go to the kitchen to prove it wrong. I yank open the drawer, find the familiar cardboard box, pull it out. One bulb left. I grab it. You think you know everything, I say out loud to the computer, which is a thing I'm apparently doing now. I hold the bulb up triumphantly. It slips out of my hand and shatters on the floor. I stare at the broken glass for a few seconds. Then I walk back to the computer and click the X to close the window. Nothing happens. I click it again and again. Nothing. Do you want to end the session? Yes. Yes, I absolutely want to end this session. I click yes. We cannot stop now. We must finish. I try to open Task Manager to kill the process. It doesn't come up. I stare at the screen. Did Sarah leave you because you're a worthless, broken loser? What? No! I shout, clicking furiously. You don't know how to lie. Ronway knows all. Ronway sees all. Are you angry right now? Angry is the floor, not the ceiling. I click yes and keep going. Ronway can feel your anger. Ronway is looking directly into your soul. Is your phone ringing? No, my phone is not. It rings. My stomach drops. Every instinct I have tells me not to answer it, but I want this to end. I glance at the Ronway window to see if it's going to try to stop me, but no new text appears. The phone keeps ringing. I pick up. Hello? Nothing. Just breathing. Heavy. Slow. Wrong. The sound of something that has been waiting a long time for something it's about to get. Hello? New text appears on the screen. Can you hear me? I hang up immediately. I stand there watching the computer for what feels like a long time. Then I go to start. Shut down. Nothing happens. I hold the power button for 20 seconds. Nothing. Are you trying to turn me off? I click yes and pull the power cord from the wall. The screen stays on. You cannot turn off Ronway. Ronway has unfinished business with you. I stand there and wait. The next question appears. Is someone standing at your door? I listen. Silence. I click no. 3 loud, slow knocks. I make a sound I've never made before. Ronway posts another question. Are you going to answer it? I'm crying without meaning to. I click no. I'm begging the screen to stop, to let me go, to leave me alone. Then the last message appears. I thought so. You are a coward. You are wasting your life, and that is why you are alone. You have lost your sense of purpose, and you are not even worth the air you breathe. We are almost done. I have one final question for you. I am not okay. I want it to end. I want whatever is outside my door to go away. I click through to Ronway's last question. The wait is unbearable. Then it appears. Will you die tonight?
I read it several times. I make myself stop crying. The knocking has stopped. I gather what's left of my nerve and pray that my answer is the right one. I grab the mouse. I click no. For a moment, nothing happens. Then a notification flashes on the screen. Ronway knows all, and Ronway sees that you were wrong again.
We live in strange times, friends. Strange enough that 100 years ago, nobody would have believed any of this was possible. But my story starts simply enough. I woke up. I used to wake up clear-headed fairly often, the kind of morning that promises a good day and real work. When people asked whether I believed in the devil, I'd say that even if he was invisible, his influence was felt every day by everyone. If I'd known that I was about to spend 13 years proving how little I understood about evil, I'd have taken my own words more seriously. I've always been fascinated by the unknown, parallel worlds, things that don't fit the official explanation. I never fully committed to believing in any of it, mostly because I'd never encountered anything I couldn't explain. Until the morning, everything changed. It started with a phone call from my editor. I worked as a journalist, had been to a lot of interesting places, gotten into a lot of interesting situations. She told me 2 junior reporters were gunning for my position, apparently better suited for the job than I was, and that if I could produce something genuinely remarkable in the next 2 weeks, I'd keep my job and get a raise. If not, I was out. It was the only shot I had, so I took it. The next day and night I spent at my laptop, searching for myths, legends, anything I could investigate and turn into a story. I wore myself out and fell asleep at the desk without meaning to. A gust of wind slammed the window open and woke me up. Glass everywhere, December cold flooding in. I cursed myself for not latching it and went to make coffee, even though coffee always made me sleepier rather than less. I made it strong anyway. I sat back down with my cup and kept searching. An hour before dawn, I was about to close the laptop when the browser reloaded and a pop-up appeared. Red and black, blurry at the edges. Do you dream of achieving something in this life? Do you feel you deserve better but never get the chance to prove it? Sitting at home, frustrated, wishing you could leave it all behind? We have an offer. You've heard the stories about selling your soul to the devil. Today, you have the chance to make your life 100 times better than it's ever been. Prick your finger, press your print to the screen. Everything you've dreamed of is yours. 2 sides of me went to war immediately. The rational one said this was a prank site with a jump scare and nothing more. The other side said I had nothing to lose. Lose this job, and my resume wasn't going to land me anything better. I'd already be finished. Curiosity won. I found a compass in my desk drawer and pricked my thumb, a sharp, clean pain that cut through the fog of the night. I pressed my thumb to the screen. I felt something pull, like the screen was drawing the blood out of my finger. I yanked my hand back. No blood on the monitor. It had somehow become a digital fingerprint, glowing in the little square on screen. A new window appeared. Request received. Your courier is on the way. I looked at the message and said out loud to nobody, Well, Andrew, no going back now. I felt a cold behind me. Colder than the draft from the broken window, colder than anything that had a natural explanation. I turned around. Someone was sitting in my armchair. Large, still, dressed in a charcoal suit with a tie and a hat. He leaned forward slightly, and I saw a broad face wearing a smile that had nothing warm in it. "Good morning," he said. "Allow me to congratulate you on this, without exaggeration, remarkable occasion. You're one of the lucky ones. Not everyone sees our advertisement. So you're actually... I'm here to make a deal," he said, the smile widening. "Yes. What do I call you?" "I have many names. In this context, call me Nitus." "Nitus,
You know my situation, my career. You can do something about it? I know everything I need to know. The question is whether you know what you want. I can give you anything for the modest price of your soul. You've never felt it helping you. Why hold on to something you've never needed? I thought about money, about success, about not having to worry anymore. And in that moment, all of it somehow felt achievable without supernatural assistance, except for one thing. The chain my mind kept running. Career, stability, everything that follows. So I said it. I want a stable, successful career.
Done. Your countdown begins now. 13 years. In 13 years, I will come and collect. Your first story is already on your desk, next to the laptop. Good luck, and a short life to you. He dissolved into the dark. I felt elated and hollow at the same time. I just shortened my life to 13 years. I went to the desk. A plain USB drive was sitting there. I plugged it in. One video file. I played it. It was footage of me and Naitas, the deal being made just minutes ago. That was my story. I took it to my editor that morning. She watched it, stared at the screen, then at me. Is this a prank? No, it happened. The devil doesn't exist. These are just stories. Apparently not. I happened to get a rare opportunity. She looked at the screen again for a long moment. This is the best piece I've ever seen in my career. Run it. I ran it. Front page. Exclusive. A deal with the devil. It's real. The story described the deal, included stills from the video, and linked to the full footage online. My editor called me in that afternoon and told me I had a raise and a permanent position. For the next 13 years, a USB drive appeared on my desk every week, containing footage of remarkable crimes, unusual events, things nobody else had, all of it ready to be shaped into a story. All I had to do was write it up and hand it in. Money followed. Recognition followed. Everything I'd said I wanted, I had. After a while, I started genuinely believing I'd earned it. The deal faded into the back of my mind the way debts do when you're not looking at the statement. Until the last week. Monday, I woke up next to someone in a very expensive bed. I got up in the middle of the night and went to the minibar. I poured a glass of wine, took a sip, and spat it out. It tasted like blood. I tried whiskey. Same thing. That's when I remembered. This was the first day of the last week of my life. I called in sick. I took the whole week off. The last week I would ever have. Tuesday, I woke up drenched in sweat. I couldn't remember the nightmares, only that they were the worst I'd ever had, and that nothing in my waking life would ever come close. I spent the day searching online for any way to cancel the deal. Forums told me I was either crazy or doomed. By evening, I had found nothing useful. When I tried to sleep, I heard screaming in my ears the moment I closed my eyes. Not human screaming. Dawn came without sleep. Wednesday. The day felt like a continuation of the night. Before I reached the kitchen, I saw her in the hallway. A semi-transparent woman in a blood-soaked dress, her throat open, making wet sounds like she was trying to speak. I stumbled backward and sat on the couch, and she dissolved before reaching me. After that, I saw them everywhere. Ruined, suffering figures, all of them looking at me. Even when I lay down, I felt their gaze cutting straight through me. 2 nights without sleep. My mind was still mostly there, but the edges were starting to blur. Thursday. Physical pain now.
A sharp cut appeared on my leg without warning. Deep, bloodless, the edges already sealed. Over the course of the day, 13 cuts appeared on my body, one at a time, each one healing before the next arrived. Naitas wanted me to suffer without dying. I understood that clearly. The thoughts that started that day weren't good ones. Friday. I'd lost track of the days and was only guessing it was Friday because I was still alive. Naitas's face appeared everywhere. Mirrors, the surface of water, any reflection. I'd been awake so long that the line between wanting to die and not wanting to go to him was the only thing holding me in place. The thought that kept circling was simple. Maybe it would be easier. Maybe there was no hell. But if Naitas existed, then the rest of it existed too. I'd know soon enough. Saturday. Silence. All of it just stopped. For the first time in days, quiet. Naitas giving me a taste of what I was about to lose. I felt sleep pulling at me like gravity, and I didn't fight it. I dreamed of yellow fields and warm wind, of flying toward the sun and past it, out into the dark between stars. I slept through to Sunday. Sunday. Naitas gave me a beautiful day. The coffee smelled the way coffee smelled before all of this. The air outside was the kind you forget exists. I understood what he was saying without words. This is what you traded. This is what you should have valued. Not the career, not the money.
I spent the day outside the city, walking through fields and empty lots, saying goodbye to the world in the quietest way I knew how. When it got dark, I went home, ran a bath, and lay in it for an hour. It was almost 11 when I got out. 1 hour left. I lay on the bed and waited. Sleep came quickly. I found myself somewhere dark and formless. A throne ahead of me, old, carved with strange patterns. Natus sat in it. 13 years have passed, he said. You lived well. Time to settle up. Anything to say? No, I said. I know what I did. I know I have to pay. Will it hurt? What frightens you more? A guilty conscience without end, or pain without end? Moral injury, or physical wounds? I'd say the moral kind. I always tried to follow my conscience. The weight of that would be worse than anything physical. Natus looked at me for a long time. I've watched your whole life. No person is without sin, but you have fewer than most. The one thing that outweighs everything else is the deal itself. I was 20-something and terrified, and I thought money was the point of everything, I said. I know that now. That's why I gave you those last 2 days, he said. I hope you didn't waste them. I didn't. They were the best 2 days of my life. No other day comes close. I'm ready. Whatever comes next, I earned it. Natus laughed. The sound filled the space and came back from every direction. Then it stopped, and he looked at me with complete seriousness. I'm glad you learned your lesson, but I'll be honest with you. You were never worth his attention. He only chooses a few. You were too small for him to notice, which is lucky for you. What I am is the reason nothing worse ever found you. I was watching to make sure nothing happened to you. And those 13 years... He paused. Let's call it a dream. I'm your guardian angel. Pleasure to meet you properly. I think I did my job well. I gave you a real understanding of what life is worth. Now wake up. You have work to do. There was a sound like a door shutting, and I woke up. Just a dream. Or maybe it all actually happened. That's for you to decide, because life is a strange thing, and even right now, you can't be entirely certain you're in the real version of it. Maybe someone decided to teach you the same lesson. Maybe this is all a simulation, a matrix, if you want to call it that. We'll find out after. Or maybe someone will wake us up before then.
They tried to cover it up, obviously. That's the only explanation for why nearly 2 decades passed without anyone officially saying a word. I only pieced it together years later, when the classified information leaked to someone and spread through word of mouth. I don't know where to start, and honestly at this point, it doesn't matter much. I'm not sure anyone will read this. I just want to get it out while I still can. I grew up in a small town in the middle of nowhere. The whole region was a few steps behind the rest of the country. My town was just slightly bigger than the surrounding settlements, which gave it a few advantages. A reasonably equipped hospital, a couple strip malls, a town hall with new siding. That made it a kind of regional hub. That also, I'd realize much later, is probably what kept me alive longer than most. It all started in 1962, before my parents were born, when the first radio signal was sent. For decades after that, nothing happened. At least, not from the perspective of ordinary people, which is what most of us were. A brief digression. What do you know about disappearances? Not missing wallets or budget money or gas from a tank. People. Ordinary people. All over the world. I used to read the threads about it. The ones where someone's friend in law enforcement explained that thousands go missing every year. Some found, some not. Back when I was into conspiracy theories and strange phenomena, I devoured those discussions. The explanations ran the full spectrum: dimensional rifts, parallel universes, various cryptids, government black ops, anomalies, extraterrestrials. I read the domestic image boards. I read Reddit. I read 4chan. My English was good enough, thanks to a school that actually prioritized it. Some communities were obsessed with forest anomalies, some with goatmen in public parks, some with strange crime. All of it was equally mythologized, equally unprovable, equally interesting. As it turned out, reality was somewhat different from all those theories. I started taking it seriously when 2 people I knew disappeared. First, a coworker, then a childhood friend. The coworker's name was Max. He called in sick one Monday, and by Wednesday, he'd stopped responding to messages. We had the usual workplace chat setups, the official one and the informal one where people sent memes. When Max stopped replying after a couple days, nobody thought much about it. He was sick. When he didn't show up the following week and wasn't answering calls, people got concerned. His parents eventually got into his apartment and found congealed pasta on the stove, cold tea in a stained mug, an unmade bed. Judging by the building camera, he'd never left through the front door. His phone was home, dead. The police opened a missing persons case, pulled nearby cameras, even checked cell data, rare for our backwater, and found nothing. No trace, no motive. He was gone. After a week or 2, people stopped talking about it, the way people do when there's nothing new to say. I did too, even though something about it wouldn't fully leave me alone. A guy I knew from college told me a similar story around the same time. There was a worker at the factory where he'd done a summer shift. An orphan, quiet, didn't socialize much but did his job reliably. Everyone called him Georgie. One day during a lunch break, he walked off the factory grounds without telling anyone. Nobody thought anything of it at first. He'd sometimes step out to grab food or run an errand.
He just didn't come back. The factory was on the industrial edge of town. There were cameras at the gate, but nowhere else. He was on footage at 2:16 p.m. walking out, and after that, nothing. Search teams with dogs, volunteers, the works, no trace. The general opinion in the shop was that he'd probably done something to himself, quiet and strange as he was. After hearing that story, I immediately thought of Max. There were similarities. I turned it over in my head, dug up half a dozen theories I'd read online, and decided to share all of it with my childhood friend, Nadine. We hadn't talked in a couple of weeks. I sent her a long message, half genuine worry, half conspiratorial excitement about anomalies in our area. She replied quickly, but briefly. Something like, "That's awful. I hope they turn up. I've been sick." I told her to drink tea, take something for it, offered to bring supplies if she needed. She lived alone in a house on the edge of town. Dropping by unannounced was normal for us. She read the messages and didn't reply. I figured she felt bad and let it go. A couple days later, I wrote again. No answer. No answer after that either. The pattern was familiar. Nobody knew anything. No trace, no obvious reason. After Nadine disappeared, anxiety stopped being a visitor and became a permanent resident. Something was wrong. I didn't know what exactly. I just felt it.
It constantly, like pressure that wouldn't lift. About a month after that, things got bigger. Hard to describe the cascade that followed, but I'll try. I'd never paid much attention to the news, but at some point, strange headlines started appearing in my feed on one of the major news sites, and then vanishing. Town of Millbrook emptied. Residents abandoned homes. Deserted villages discovered outside Southampton. Entire city block in Tucson found abandoned. Infrastructure partially offline. They didn't last. Someone was cleaning them up. I know this because when I shared one of them in a work group chat one Sunday evening, by Monday morning, the link was dead. No search results. Coworkers had seen similar things, and we looked together. Nothing. Alongside that, I kept tracking discussions on various forums and boards. Even in the noise of flat earth theories and reptilian elites, things surfaced occasionally. And these things, in both domestic and Western corners of the internet, were getting deleted fast. But I caught enough. People from all over the world were sharing stories like Max's, like Georgie's. The vanishing news stories, it turned out, were a global phenomenon. None of it triggered fear in me at first. It felt like an ARG. Fascinating, constructed, not quite real. Then the posts about empty towns started appearing. Someone drives to visit family in another city and finds total stillness. People seemingly just walked away from everything. Cars in the streets, no people. A few of those posts, translated and paraphrased. Thrashmaster, Reddit r/off my chest. Okay, so this is gonna sound insane, but I need someone to tell me if this has happened to them. I drove out to visit my aunt and uncle in Millbrook last weekend, like I do every few months. Normal drive, nothing weird. Get there, and the town is just empty. Like not quiet Sunday morning empty, actually empty. Stopped at the diner. Door was unlocked, coffee still in the pot. Nobody there. Drove to my aunt's house. Nobody home. Car in the driveway. Called them. Straight to voicemail. Same with their neighbors whose number I had. Sat in the backyard for like 2 hours waiting. Fell asleep in the chair. Woke up and it was getting dark and still nothing. Stayed the night because I didn't know what else to do. Nobody showed up. Drove home in the morning. Can't reach anyone there. What the actual hell is happening? Jane, 93. Jane, Reddit r/true off my chest. I was driving from Albuquerque to Santa Fe for a job interview this morning, about an hour and a half. Starting maybe 20 minutes out from Santa Fe, I noticed I wasn't passing any oncoming traffic. By the time I got into the city, the streets were completely empty. No cars moving, no people on sidewalks. I've never seen anything like it. The closer I got to the office building, the worse the feeling got, and I ended up turning around literally 1 block away. I know that sounds crazy, but something about the whole atmosphere wasn't right. I can't reach my brother or my friends back in Albuquerque now, and I'm scared. Has anyone experienced anything like this? I'm driving home right now, and I'm shaking. Anonymous, 4chan/x/. Posting this because I literally don't know what else to do, and I want to find someone from my area or anyone who's seen something like this. My parents sent me to visit my grandparents in Crestview for spring break. Pretty normal thing. I've biked there before. It's not far. Everything was fine on the way there. Got to town, and it was just dead quiet, in a way that felt wrong. Dogs barking in yards, couple of cows loose on the road, but no people anywhere. Got to my grandparents' house, and they weren't there. Their phones were inside, on the counter. Sat around for an hour, got uncomfortable in a way I can't explain, and biked home. My parents are losing it trying to reach people in Crestview. If anyone here is from the area or near it, can we coordinate and go back together? Not making this up, I'm genuinely freaked out. I tried to reply to all of these posts after saving screenshots, but by the time I'd typed and hit send, each one had already been deleted. The last one bothered me most. The writer was from my region, and my cousin lived in a town that matched. We didn't talk often, but I tracked down his contact information and tried to reach him. As you can probably guess, I couldn't. I drove out myself. I won't describe it in detail, but it matched the posts exactly. I came back, shaken, and with nothing to show for it. Around this time, the strangeness accelerated.
First, most live broadcasts disappeared. Streaming, live TV, radio. Some came back, but users noticed they were replays of old content. The radio and streams that returned sounded like AI. Local TV and radio were the exception, or what remained of them. Then, on the boards and forums, posts started appearing that looked like ciphertext. For some reason, the others, whoever they were, couldn't read it, or didn't bother, dismissing it as noise or spam. But through those ciphers, the remaining people started communicating with each other. What we learned: almost everything on the news sites, almost all broadcast TV, most of the radio was fake. Not just rebroadcasts, fabrications, generated content. And within weeks of the cipher posts appearing, the fakes had spread from news sites into comment sections, into social media, into direct messages. Local city pages kept posting normally. Local Facebook groups kept filling with comments. But among the cipher messages were accounts from people who'd actually been to those cities. Empty. A subreddit ran a full encrypted digest of similar examples from around the world. And then my cousin messaged me on Instagram, cheerful and normal. I tried to set up a meetup. He kept deflecting. I drove out again, this time with a neighbor. More abandoned than before. I stopped responding to my cousin after that. Whatever was messaging me wasn't him. Part of me was scared. Part of me thought, well, this is certainly something to live through. For a while, things were relatively stable on the surface. The fake broadcasts gave enough of a sense of normalcy that the daily routine held.
There were even fewer violent news stories than usual, but deliveries stopped arriving at local stores and pharmacies. Nobody could reach anyone outside the city. The internet still worked, and if you were reading the ciphers, it sounded like a different world entirely. Survivors doing supply runs, expeditions to neighboring towns, cataloging what they found. It genuinely felt like an ARG, especially since my immediate life continued. I went to work. I exchanged memes. I played games online with friends after work. I bought beer on Fridays and made sandwiches in the morning and watched shows at night. Simple life of a simple person. I thought about how adaptable people are, how we absorb even the strangest circumstances as long as the immediate threat isn't visible. Then came the post that changed the register entirely. A long post on 4chan from an anonymous user who'd made a hobby of searching government buildings in emptied towns, city halls, police departments, local newspaper offices. He eventually found something in one of them, a paper trail. He described, in sequence, every radio signal sent into space beginning in 1962. A detailed chronology with scanned documents attached, which were deleted before most people could save them. The timeline ended in 2002. After that, the post read like a thriller. In 2002, according to what he found, the signals were answered. Instead of a triumphant announcement for the scientific community, the fact of the response was immediately classified across multiple countries. What exactly the response said was not in any document he found, but shortly after, they arrived. Whoever sent the answer. This is connected, the Post argued, to the sharp worsening of missing person statistics beginning in 2003, which continued to trend worse every year through the present day. No information about what they looked like, what they wanted, or what they were doing with the people they took. The thread exploded. It was reposted and re-encrypted dozens of times across platforms. People invoked the dark forest theory. People blamed scientists. Questions arose. If this was real, why was infrastructure still running? Satellites, power grids, internet. Some people tried to access power stations and critical facilities. Some couldn't get in. Those who did found running equipment and empty rooms, and then went silent. A pattern emerged. Small towns and rural areas emptied first, then the cities. The sequence within regions seemed random. No way to predict which area would go next. Similar posts surfaced from other countries shortly after. Nothing new in terms of information, but the fear level in the surviving online spaces was now genuine and sustained. People kept disappearing, seemingly faster. In many still populated areas, supplies were running critically low. Volunteers ran supply expeditions to neighboring towns. Not all came back. Then posts started appearing from people whose locations had just gone empty. 2 days later, internet and cell networks went down. The day after that, despite the symptoms of what was probably a cold, I went to work anyway. On the walk over, I passed 2 other people, both of them looking around the same way I was, with that particular expression. The office was unlocked. Nobody was there. I didn't run home. There's no one there waiting for me. My department was on the 2nd floor. I got my mug, the one that says, "Change your way," went to the office kitchen, made a cup of instant coffee, 2 spoonfuls, 3 sugar cubes, sat down at my workstation and opened a Word document, and wrote this. I don't know what to add at the end. I can hear something in the hallway. Someone just knocked on the office door, and Nadine's voice called through it, saying, "Everyone's been waiting for me, and it's time to go."